Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Wa bihi nasta'inu ala umuri dunya wad din. Salatu wassalamu ala rasulihil amin. Sayyidina wa habibina wa maulana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الجليل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني سبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بلغوا عني ولو آية أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this golden opportunity and blessing for us to meet once again to talk about ad-da'wah ila Allah and how should we communicate and convey the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to our neighbors, our friends, to everyone around us. And in the last few sessions, we have talked quite a lot about how to convey the message, because the issue is not about what. In terms of what, everything is clear. Islam is Islam, and a da'wah is obligations understood by everyone. But the question is how to convey the message. This is really the challenge for us. So we talk about the importance of communications, the importance of patience, the importance of talking on the basis of people's minds and understanding, the importance of language, not only oral or spoken language, but also cultural, social, and other forms of languages that people use in their life. So tonight, inshallah, we are going to mention some other points which are very relevant and very important in our attempt to communicate al-Islam to our friends around us. And the first point I'd like to mention tonight is about the importance of al-istiqamah. Al-istiqamah, steadfastness or perseverance, is a part of patience basically. Being mustaqim means steadfast on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, it is one of the essentials of Islamic teaching to be mustaqim. And the word istiqamah came from iqamat. Number one is standing up, to stand up. Number two is to straighten. Number three is continuity. And there are some other relevant meaning to the words al-istiqamah. But we know that when Rasulullah sallallahu once he was asked by Sahaba, قُلْ لِي فِي الْإِسْلَامِ قَوْلًا لَا أَسْأَلُ عَنْهُ غَيْرَكَ, tell me something in the religion that I don't have to ask from anyone else, in order to succeed, in order to be safe. And of course, Rasulullah sallallahu said, قُلْ آمَنْتُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقِمْ. Say, I do believe, I have the faith and I believe, and ثُمَّ اسْتَقِمْ, then be steadfast on it. In other words, al-istiqamah is necessary in order to succeed in our religiosity. Nothing that we can do in al-Islam successfully without the commitment of al-istiqamah. And among the meanings of ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim is, oh Allah, give us steadfastness on the religion. Because we are praying, of course we are Muslim, alhamdulillah, we are under guidance, inshallah. And because of that we are praying, but still we are asking Allah, ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, guide us to the straight path. And among the meaning of al-sirat al-mustaqim, al-istiqama al-sirat, it means steadfast and a straight path. So in doing da'wah, in our attempts and our efforts, in our works to convey the message of Allah, to communicate al-Islam, it fundamentally needs that character of being mustaqim, having al-istiqama. As I mentioned, that istiqama is a part of that patience. In other words, that we are not shaken by any circumstances surround our work. We continue walk the path with strength, with determination, with dream, and inshallah, with a strong intention to succeed. And let Allah decide the rest. Da'wah works is full of challenges. You know, especially in time that we are living, that Islam has been portrayed so badly. We are competing with different perceptions about the faith. And those people who try to ruin the perception of Islam is using every means possible, and they have it. They have media, social media. They have the power. They have money. They have capital. There are millions of dollars being spent, you know, to ruin the beautiful face of al-Islam. And for us who are trying to convey the message, you know, oftentimes we are challenged by ourselves. And if you don't have that istiqamat on the truth and having strong faith in al-Islam, we may be shaken. And therefore, al-istiqama is very, very important. Or otherwise, we may be seduced by different temptations around us. You know, sometimes people are trying to approach you and they are promising different kind of promises to make you popular, make you, you know, acceptable to everyone else and make easy for you in life. But it is a part of temptations. You know, similarly what happened to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Quraysh offered him to be a king, they wanted to make him king. They are open to make the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam king if he wanted to become a king. Or if he wanted to be rich, they can make him richest among the Meccans. If he wanted to marry the most beautiful woman, he can find the most beautiful woman in the city to marry. These are among temptations that oftentimes we are facing in order to convey the message. And it needs al-istiqama on the truth. There are all of a sudden people, you know, when they are involved in the work of da'wah, they're becoming so popular. In some Muslim lands, you know, oftentimes a person was not known at all just a few days back. And all of a sudden he became like a preacher, and he has an access on media, for example, national televisions or national radio, that all of a sudden becomes so popular. Nothing wrong with that, because Allah gives an opportunity to every person to succeed, to be successful. Either it is in rich or in popularity or in power. You can be popular, you can be rich, that's fine. But for a da'i to be popular and looks like well known and accepted well, sometimes it is not the sign of success. It might be a sign of temptations. And for that, it needs patience from us. It needs steadfastness, al-istiqama from us. This is one of the most important points that we must take into our consideration for us to continue the work of da'wah. The next one is that basically we are battling, we are fighting. There's a battle here, there's a war here. And one of the most dangerous war at the moment that we are facing is not nuclear bombs war. It's not, mass destruction, as they call it, weapons, but which is more dangerous at the moment is about war of perceptions. Perception, image. When the people are winning, in terms of building certain perception for themselves, they are winning. And as some people are becoming so obsessed with certain nation, and I don't have to mention that, because those nations have built a strong perception that they're the best. Best in economy, best in politics, best in social life, best in technologies, best in science. And oftentimes it is not real, mostly, or most of them are perceptions. And the people are so obsessed to become like them. And that is because people are battling. There's a war that's taking place now. And the worst war is war of perception. It's a fighting the perception. Now, for a long time, Islam in the West particularly have been portrayed, particularly in the media, systematically, that Islam is the religion of certain negative things. People are building an image and perception that when you think of Islam, you're thinking of poverty. So Islam is the religion of poverty. The moment you accept Islam, then it is the beginning of poverty. So for example, people like to say that be careful, America, if you open up to Islam, open yourself to Islam, that it means that you are going to pull this country back into poverty. There's an image being built. There are many reasons behind that. Certainly because of the reality of the Muslim world. But this is unfair to the religion. Because no one accused, for example, certain religion bad for the bad things committed by certain people happen to be followers of those religion. And you can see a nation that is majority of certain faith, for example, I don't have to mention, that nation used to be, a lot of rapes. Women are being raped, but no one accused that faith, tradition, or religion to be a rapist religion. But when you come to Islam, you see the Muslims are doing some bad stuff around. Islam is directly accused to be the inspiration, which is certainly unfair to the faith. But the reason behind that is to build a perception. And by winning the perception, people take a conclusion. And so again, this is the battle that we are fighting. It is fighting a systematic developing, how you call it. People are building that perception about Islam. For example, Islam is perceived widely by some in the Western society to be the religion of Middle Eastern. This is funny because sometimes when the people thought about religion being Eastern or Middle Eastern, whatever it might be, you call it. My question is, what kind of religion that the Western society produced? Judaism? It was in Jerusalem. Talking Christianity? Jesus in Jerusalem. So the Western society basically, had never produced any faith, tradition, or religion. But why then Islam is, portrayed to be the exclusively religion for the Middle Eastern. So it looks like Islam is not the religion for the Western. And one thing we have to know when the people talk about Western and Eastern, it means Western is the symbol of progress, the symbol of development, the symbol of advancement. While when you talk about Oriental or Eastern, it means backward. And that's why Islam in some universities is called Orientalism. Orientalism is mean an ideology of Orientalist people who are from East. And this is a part of building, developing perception, a wrong perception or a bad perception about al-Islam. Another perception that Islam is being spread forcefully by sword, by forcing the people to embrace and become Muslims. I don't deny if that it happened, for whatever the reason in the past, but I don't think so. And now you can imagine when Khalid ibn Walid and some other Muslim commanders conquered Sham, or modern Syria today. People were left to believe in what they believe. And as we know that Syria at the time was under Roman Christian, and they were not forced to become Muslims. Their churches were protected. And there is a treaty made by Umar Allahu anhu being the Khalifa at the time, the Amir al-Mu'mineen, the leader of the Muslims at the time, and the Romans, that the churches are not to be, taken down. Even the Salib, the cross, will not be taken down. So again, the perception that Islam has been spread to different parts of the world forcefully using sword is another battle of perception. People wanted to build a perception that Islam is a religion of war, religion of sword. And therefore, these days, for example, we are talking about the conversion of Ayah, who is formerly Ayah Mosque, Sophia, to become a mosque again. It has become an issue that people are discussing. We can discuss this in long discussion. But in a nutshell, it was a building, according to the documents presented by the government of Turkey, that had been purchased by Al-Fatih Mehmed II, the one who opened Byzantium to become then Istanbul these days, has purchased that particular building, Hagia Sophia. And then he gave it as an endowment, waqf, to become a masjid. Later on, unfortunately, Turkey was falling under the feet of secular Kemal Atatürk, and he then turned it back, not into a church, because he didn't believe into religion at all. He turned it into museum. And then now, after discovering the reality of that building, then I think the government of Turkey is going to make it back a mosque. But my point here is that people are using that again as an opportunity to build another bad image and perception that Islam is about taking over people's religious house of worship. Islam is taking the churches and turning it into masajid. We Muslims don't talk about what happened in Spain. How many mosques, masajid, that are being forcefully taken over and turned into either churches or nightclubs? And nobody talk about that. My point here is it's all about perception. Now, the Western people that basically don't pay attention too much to the religion, because in the Western side itself, there are many churches that are being sold for sale. But why then they are so bothered to talk about Hagia Sophia? Why? The reason is because it is about building perception that Islam is doing something wrong. And they are not trying to do some research that there's a reason behind it why then the Turkish government is fighting for its right to make it again, or to return that building into a mosque as it was before under the Ottoman Empire. So once again, it is very important to understand that making da'wah at the same time is fighting the misconception, is fighting the stigmas being presented, to mislead the people. And that is our responsibility, to cleanse all these misperceptions in the minds of the people. It's not easy. It's not easy because sometimes people have taken those perceptions to be an absolute truth. I still remember when one day I was invited to speak in one of the houses of worship of non-Muslim. I had to mention what house of worship is that. And believe me, there were around 20 questions at the end of my lecture, and all about things that we'd never imagined in Islam. Islam is killing people if they don't accept. Muslims are forcing them to become Muslim. If not, they are slaughtering. They use the word slaughtering. The Muslims are taking over, people's properties if they don't become Muslims. The houses of worship are forcibly turned into the masajid. There are many things that are being built in order to present certain image about the religion. And our responsibility is to clear up, to make sure that all those wrong perceptions at least they can minimize it. It is the important point that we'd like to mention. The next one for tonight is that making da'wah always require humbleness. It is very essential, very fundamental, very important that da'i or du'at must be humble. And what does it mean be humble? Certainly humbleness is a value in Islam. Humbleness there is no reason for us to lose that noble character of being humble. وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما. And the servants of Allah are those who walk in the line humbly. And if the ignorant address them ignorantly, they will respond peacefully. قالوا سلاما. So it's very important. Salama is always be our character. And one of the most important sign of that peace, being peaceful, is always humble to other people around us. Now, in our attempt to convey the message of Allah with humbleness means that we have to acknowledge our limitations, our weaknesses, that we are not at all have anything without the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are nothing. And we cannot do anything without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What we say on daily basis, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, is truly a foundation of Muslims' life. It is not a sign of weakness when we acknowledge the power and the authority of Allah on us. It is a sign of power and strength, because when we do believe that we don't have any power but the power of Allah, that looks like we depend on the power and the most powerful power, and that's the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is also very essential in our da'wah works. You know, how many people are doing da'wah and feel that they can do a lot of things? You know, that become Superman and Superwoman. They forget that we are humans and we have a lot of mistakes and shortcomings. So let's go to what happened to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam then, as you may remember, that after almost 12 or 13 years of his struggle to convey the message from Mecca and then to Medina, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him victory, the Fath Makkah. Towards the end of his life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed or sent down a surah in the Holy Quran telling him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give him a nasr, victory, help. Allah is going to assist him and empower him. That surah is called An-Nasr. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. When the help of Allah has come, and when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about something for future, and he used the fi'l al-madi, إِذَا جَاءَ, supposedly إِذَا يَجِيء, but this one is إِذَا جَاءَ. It means when it's already come. That is to ensure that it is certain, that it is sure it's coming. The help of Allah is coming. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ, and the victory. And then وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ, and we have seen the people enter into this faith. يَدْخُلُونَ, entering. You have seen those people are entering into this religion in crowds. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. They enter into this faith in crowds. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He didn't say, you know, be proud of yourself. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَصَبِّحْ بِسْمِ رَبِّكَ. Glorify the names of your Lord. Tasbih, it means forget about your own, you know, intelligence and smartness, your own, you know, intelligent strategy you feel that you can do. Forget about that. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't help you, nothing could have happened. Just Allah helped you. فَصَبِّحْ بِسْمِ رَبِّكَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam just to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even he say, wastaghfir, ask for forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness. So in one hand, forget about your, what you might consider your share, your contributions, your works. Forget it. Because all these are just for you, not necessarily because of those, Islam had become victorious. The victory that you have at the moment, not necessarily because of your works, but because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided it. This is a very important point, how du'at that must be humble all the time. At the end of the day, the one who decides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can imagine, my brothers, that, you know, when we are trying to convince someone to al-Islam, to once again to see the truth of Islam, you know, we try to explain it, we try to talk to him in details, using ayat of the Quran, hadith, using arguments, using, you know, rational arguments sometimes, logic discussion, good communication. Still, people sometimes are not easy in accepting the truth. Why? Because we do believe for certain, you know, this our yaqeen, that none can give hidayah, none can guide, but the one who created human beings. The creator, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. You will never guide anybody, even the one that you love, your own uncle Muhammad. But Allah gives guidance to whom He will. This belief makes us humble, that even if we had become someone who leads some thousands of people, let's say, to accept Islam, or hundreds of people to accept Islam, we have always to remember it's not because of us. It is because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah yahdi man yasha. Allah guides whom He will. Not whom we will, but whom Allah wills. And so this solid, faith in the absolute guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must make it humble at the end of the day. فَصَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. Why wastaghfir? Because we have limitations. We are limited in our capacity. We are limited in our knowledge. We are limited in our communication skill. We are limited in our courage sometimes. There are a lot of reasons to acknowledge that we are not perfect in presenting the teaching of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so at the end of the day, it requires us to ask for forgiveness. Wastaghfir. إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. Because Allah is all forgiving. Allah is accepting tawbah from all of us. So this is a very important fundamental lesson for every da'i in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you don't have to always feel that you're the one. I'm the man, or I'm the woman. It's not. It's about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so you can imagine how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had done every single possible way. And sometimes he felt sad, because people rejected it. He was so, how you call it, so into it. And sometimes he feels so sad when he saw the people are resisting. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded him, لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرٍ. لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرٍ. You cannot force them. You don't have any authority on them. Your obligation is to convey, مَا عَلَيْكَ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ. That's what Allah said to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the point here, that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given everything else unconditional and unlimitedly to this work. But at the end of the day, Allah reminded him, that is about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. Glorify and thank, appreciate your Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And ask for forgiveness for your limitations and for shortcomings and for the mistakes you committed in the process. Maybe we have sometimes, express ourselves in a way that make people even away from Islam because we are too harsh in our language. Maybe because the way you communicate Al-Islam is not wise, then people, instead of coming to Al-Islam or seeing Islam as a positive, they turn away and see Al-Islam negative because the way you communicate. So فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. Ask for forgiveness. It is very important to remember. Maybe because of our own limitations in presenting or representing Islam itself. Representing Islam. Not only presenting, but representing. In other words, that we fail to represent the beauty of Al-Islam. And because of that failure, we have failed, people are running away. So what's that for? Ask for forgiveness. So again, brothers and sisters, it is very important to be always humble. Never ever feel that we can do. Yes, something that we may have done because of the blessings, because of the mercy, because of the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of the tawfiq, as we say in Arabic language, because of the tawfiq Allah azza wa jal. We're able to do something. We may have, succeeded in showing or presenting Islam to someone, and at the end he was convinced that Islam is not necessarily the religion that he thought earlier or a day before. Alhamdulillah, we changed the minds, the perception. At least we changed the perception. Alhamdulillah, we did that not because of us, not because of we are smart, not because of we are, skillful in our communication, or sometimes because we speak good. No, it is because of the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this must be remembered and taken into our consideration. Otherwise, at the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show to us that we are nothing. And that's what's happening sometimes. We see the people are sometimes feel that they can do, particularly those who can speak beautifully on stages, on members, podiums, and they have a very high rhetoric sometimes. They talk about Islam highly. They can attract thousands of people when they talk about Islam. By the end of the day, none basically affected by those beautiful speeches. Why? Because once again, it is not us. إن القلوب بين أصابع الرحمن. The hearts of the people are between the fingers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقلب, Allah upside down change the hearts of the people as He likes. And so we must depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decision to guide someone, and not on our own feelings of strength and power and ability to guide someone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us and strengthen us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always show us the right way so that we can convey that right way in the right way. The right way is Islam, and we convey it in the right way means in the right, proper way. Once again, we hope that we are du'at. And du'at, once again, is about persuasion, asking, communicating, calling, inviting. And not someone is the opposite. Consider themselves du'at, but basically they are turning away people from the truth because of the wrong methodology, the wrong ways of conveying and communicating the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us wisdom more, inshallah ta'ala. So not for tonight. Looking forward to seeing you again next time. اللهم وفق إلى أقوم الطريق. حنا الله وإياكم أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.